one's normal, right?
Yeah, one's normal.
Okay. Oh, this is lumpy.
The process of exam is challenging.
Wait, I feel like my finger's too short. I can't reach all around.
Yeah, but they said most people only can feel the inferior.
yeah.
It's like
You take a deep breath and hold it, and then when you feel my finger, you can release your breath slowly. So that I can understand the area better. Oh, I already know the answer to this one because I looked at it.
oh. Oh, it's like a lot further. It's like my finger's like this. It's not like a bump, but it's like a divot that goes down. Is that what you're feeling?
Left side of the process.
Oh, I feel a divot that goes down.
Is
I
that-
don't feel like a nodule.
It's like kind of hard above it, no?
Has
A little bit?
burn.
I'm burning your footage.
You should vlog me sitting like this.
Nice.
It's like 15. Oh, why is it to the camera in my vlogs, but I thought I would talk a little bit about getting into PA school, how the process was like, what my clinical experiences were like, and how I study in PA school now. I got a comment on it on my last video, so I thought I would at least address it because I know it's relevant to my content on YouTube. I feel like it's been such a long time since I applied. It's kind of crazy to think that it hasn't even been like 2 years since then. So I'll start off talking about getting into PA school and my stats for it. I have it written down because it's been a while and I don't necessarily remember everything. So just to preface, I had a pretty low GPA. Like, I really didn't expect myself to get in my first try for PA school. I kind of expected that I would have to apply a second time, but luckily I got it. So my GPA was about a 3.2. I don't really remember what my science GPA was, but I think it was about the same. I had a hard time in freshman and sophomore year because I didn't really know how to study. I was distracted by a lot of other things happening in my life, but once COVID hit, I really honed in on my studying habits and focused on doing really well in school and prioritizing my clinical experiences. So you can clearly see an upward trend in my grades throughout the 4 years. I also took a few summer classes at a community college just to boost my GPA. And yeah, so let me just go through my hours. Okay, so for my non-healthcare hours, I had 420 hours. I worked as a barista at like a bubble tea place, and then as a waitress. I had 625 hours of volunteer experience. And then for my patient care experience, I had 3,925 hours. I worked at a medical assistant at a COVID testing site, then as a CNA at an assisted living facility, and then a CNA sitter at a local hospital. And then my last experience was a medical assistant at a primary care office. For healthcare experience, I had 707 hours. I worked as a scribe at the primary care office. I switched off with medical assistant and scribe. And I also was a virtual crisis text line counselor, which I highly recommend. I had 60 hours of shadowing. I shadowed 2 urgent care PAs that was a part of the practice of the primary care that I worked at. I also did some virtual shadowing with MedSembly. Leadership, I had 696 hours. That was mostly within my sorority in undergrad. I took part in like e-board position and then some other chair positions. For extracurriculars, I had 672 hours and then 208 hours of teaching, which was basically like tutoring and helping out people who are also pre-PA. So I applied to about 20 schools. I mainly focused on looking at their accreditation, because I know that's super important, their attrition rate, their PANS pass rates, the location of course, and their overall requirements. I kind of tried to focus on schools that were closer to me in location and also focus more on experiences over GPA. I had a letter of recommendations from 2 PAs, 2 MDs, and 1 NP. These were all people I worked with during my experiences. Majority of them was in the primary care office I worked with. After applying, I received 3 interview invites out of the 20, yeah. Of the 3, I received 1 acceptance and 1 waitlist. And then I declined the last interview invite because I already accepted a seat at a school I liked more. So yeah, it really only takes 1 acceptance. Now I guess I'll talk a little bit about how I study in PA school. I feel like this is one of the harder questions just because I've changed up my studying habits a lot. So I also wrote these down because honestly I don't really know how to go about it. I feel like even to this day, my studying habits keep changing. Even like throughout the week, it keeps changing. I decide to do different things. I tend to do more Quizlets like with Farm because I feel like that helps more with recall. With like, you know, pathophysiology of disease states, I think it's better to draw things out. So I have a lot of notebooks. I have a bunch of colored pens. I try to write everything out as much as I can, especially with like also like treatment algorithms, like diagnostic workups. I think it's good to write those out. I'll talk about only like what I've learned to like the most now, and just take it with a grain of salt because it's different for everyone. All of my friends in PA school studied differently, but they all kind of overlap. But you just have to kind of figure out what works best for you, which is like what everyone says. I've learned to love making Quizlets. I transfer those Quizlets into Anki sometimes too because I have an Anki remote, makes it a little bit more fun. Whenever the content calls for it, like maybe different disease states, I like to make charts, especially when you're comparing different disease states, so you can see like how to differentiate those, what that would present over this one, and vice versa. Pertinent positives or negatives, helpful in a chart. I used to write out my notes in a really organized fashion. I used to make them look really pretty, and I would download them into GoodNotes. And I don't know if you know GoodNotes, but it has like a tape feature where you can tape over certain words. So I will just like go through every part of my notes and tape whatever I feel like is important and something that I should remember. And then after I do that once, I go back and then I do the tape feature to see if I remember. It's kind of like flashcards, I guess, but that was super helpful. But I felt like it took me so much time. So even though it was helpful, it was hard to get through all the content because it took so much time. So I kind of stopped doing that. But I'll occasionally do it if there is some lectures that I feel like are harder and I feel like I don't recall well, so I feel like I'll do that. Of course, I love resources like Ninja Nerd, Osmosis, Cram the Pants. Those are like the trinity. They're like my favorite. Especially in the beginning of the unit when I'm working more with anatomy and physiology, I like to have someone explain it to me slowly. I do go back and look at my lectures, but sometimes they like go through things quickly because it's more of a review. Because we do anatomy and physiology unit 1, so I feel like when they revisit that anatomy and physiology, they kind of rush through it a little bit. They kind of just skim over it, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I completely forget. Like I need a big refresher. Ninja Nerd and Osmosis I think are really helpful with in detail about anatomy and physiology and stuff like that, but Cram the Pants is helpful for like a review, like maybe right before an exam, because they also do like test questions sometimes, and it helps to test myself to see what I need to review again. For physical exam maneuvers, I tend to practice them a little last minute, like right before practicals, before patient encounters, but I'm really working on practicing that early. So instead of like cramming it all at the very last minute, I want to feel really confident with it so that by the time practicals and patient encounters happen, I feel, confident and I can just do it. It's like second nature. So a lot of people have OSCEs, which you guys probably know is the patient encounters, but our school calls it SPA. And so before our SPA cases, I would get in a group with my friends, and we will all like make example cases for each other, and act out as patients for each other to help us practice. And that has been really helpful because you can like study flashcards, watch videos, and like review lectures, but it's so different when you're like talking to a patient and actually honing in on your clinical reasoning skills like in real time. I talked to my professor last unit about something that I want to work on is getting quicker with my clinical reasoning. I feel like I have a patient encounter and I have no idea what's going on, but like as I sit with it, like maybe 30 minutes later after I sit with it, I'm like, okay, wait, I think I can figure it out. But it's hard for me when I have to like close the encounter with the patient when I have no idea what's going on, So it's helpful to like work on that, and just the only way to work on that is just to keep practicing, I guess. Sometimes when I make practice encounters with my friends, it takes a long time. So I also try using like ChatGPT. I just ask them like, hey, out of these like pathologies, can you choose one? Pretend to be a patient that presents with that symptom, and then present with that pathology, and only give me answers to the questions I ask. So it helps me really with like open and ended questions. You can also use a voice feature, so it kind of feels more realistic. And then I guess the last piece of advice I have is to choose like one day of the week to just relax and not study. And I know a lot of people hear that all the time, but it's really helpful because in like unit 1, 2, and 3, I think I studied almost constantly 7 days a week. I got burnt out so fast. But starting unit 4, I started to choose like one day. I choose Fridays as my free day. Even if I feel really behind, even if I feel really stressed out, like I can't afford to miss out on one day of studying, I still do it. I force myself because on Fridays at least, you're still going to classes. So after class, I can just chill and not do anything. So I won't feel as bad as like taking up a whole Saturday. So then once you're like relaxed on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, you're grinding. you know, that's what I do. I feel like using a Saturday feels like a waste for me because it's like a whole day I can study, but that's up to you. That would still be helpful. So Fridays, I do either very minimal studying or I just don't at all. But my clinical year is coming up. They're giving us our rotations in about 2 weeks, so I'm really excited. We're having a like rotation reveal day, kind of like match day, I guess, but like with less stakes. But our cohort is gonna meet up together. I think there's gonna be like food, and then we're all gonna like open up our first rotation. It's gonna be super exciting. But yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to like comment below or just let me know if you want more information so I can make another video or something. But yes, thank you for watching.